Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. No problem. Yeah, no problem. I was like 1 minute early too, so. Justin, for school committee reports, do you have anything for tonight?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to just, I'll briefly mention the 2 budget workshops.
Yeah. That seems like a reasonable thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, should we redo the pledge and stuff? I was like a minute early and it didn't quite stream. We're just good? Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Narragansett School Committee. The meeting was called to order at 7, and we just did our Pledge of Allegiance. We had no executive session for tonight, so there were no votes that were taken. It's now time for open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Sure, come on up and say your name, please. Yes. And there should be a button that you'll push that, then the sound will be picked up. So
Okay.
just,
Hi.
perfect.
Good
Yep,
evening.
just say your name.
Okay. I'm Jennifer Treviso. I am a resident of Narragansett, a longtime resident, about 50 years or so. I'm also treasurer of the Rhode Island Teachers of Italian. I know that my colleague, Bruna Boyle, wrote to you regarding the elimination of the Italian program at Narragansett High School. And I'm just here to advocate for either the reinstatement of the program or not cutting the program. I teach Italian myself. I've been doing so for 20 years, and I know that at my school we have highs, we have lows. Sometimes there's higher enrollment, sometimes there's lower enrollment. But I, as a representative of the Rhode Island Teachers of Italian, say what a shame that it would be to eliminate this program after 49 years of being in existence. So that's all I have to say.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak for open forum? Okay, hearing none. We are going to move on to oral reports, starting with the school committee. Diane, did you have something? Did you want to go first?
Brief report. I had the opportunity to be a judge at the National History Day at the Pierre School last Wednesday, and the theme this year was Turning Points in History, which led to many interesting projects, and I saw a good many that were hopefully going on to state.
Thank you, Diane. Alex, do you have an update for tonight?
Yeah, just briefly that the Health and Wellness Committee met on Monday at 5 via Zoom, and updates included members were able to visit the high school cafeteria and reviewed some of the nutritional food offerings. There was an update from the Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition that the Healthy School Meals for All legislation up at the State House has been pushed for further study. And there have been recent studies that link the new policy to lowering childhood obesity. So more to come there. And then there is a lot of different updates shared by each of the school principals. One particular shout out from the high school. In the fall, we partnered with Thunder Mist to offer mental health first aid training for parents. We are now conducting teen mental health first aid training for sophomores. The teen mental health first aid teaches teens how to identify, understand, and respond to signs of mental health and substance use challenges in their friends and peers. The training will provide students the skills to have supportive conversations with friends and to seek help from responsible and trusted adults. And lastly, Special thanks to the Health and Wellness Committee for working on the meal charge standard procedures, which we are reviewing tonight, and for passing that off to the Policy Committee. And special thank you to the Policy Committee for all the hard work and revisions that they provided. Thank you.
And Alex, I just want to give a shout out to the Washington County Coalition for Children and Susan Orban, who really approached us about the teen mental health first aid. It's a proven program, and in a time where we have a lot of students who are suffering from anxiety or under stress, it's a really good program to get out there.
All right, thanks, Pete. And then my subcommittee updates, as Alex talked about, Diane and I had a policy subcommittee meeting this month, and we focused on really looking closely at a working draft for the meal charge policy and procedures. So we kind of vetted that through, went through a lot of the suggestions from the Wellness Committee and from Dr. Cummings and from other districts. And so what we're going to have later tonight is a first read of the policy. Then that'll come back next month for a second read and then for an adoption. So that was policy subcommittee. And then since we last met in February, we did have 2 budget workshops that were live and televised down here in the big assembly room. The first workshop really focused on the schools and went into deep detail about each school, and then also with special services from the special services director. And then the second workshop also had a variety of topics, including the capital plan, technology, transportation. So really had a nice opportunity to really kind of go deep into the budget. And tonight, later on, the big item tonight is we're going to be voting on the budget, and then it'll move over to the town council for their consideration. So that is my school committee update from me. So we're on to the student report. Maya?
This one's a little longer one, so I'll try to sum it up. But I want to talk about our AP art class that we offer because I take it and I'm really passionate about art. So I wanted to bring to the attention that I feel like our schedule does not offer enough time for the students taking AP art. So I'll give a brief overview of the class first. So AP art is the AP class that we offer through College Board. And instead of taking like a regular AP exam at the end of the year, we have to submit a portfolio. And the portfolio is 15 completed pieces that you have to do this year, and then an additional 5 of whatever you would like. So it's 20 in total. The 5 can be done previously, but the 15 have to be done in school, like in the working period that they give you. So College Board doesn't open up the AP classroom up until mid-November, so we're already getting a later start than every other AP class. And then our portfolio due date is May 15th, and we have our teacher gives us due dates like every 2 or 3 weeks. And if you know anything about art, it takes hundreds of hours to complete a piece. So having class 3-ish times for 50 minutes is just not enough time when you're setting up, cleaning up, whatever. It's just really not enough time. And like I've been working on a piece for probably like 4-ish weeks now, just one. And it's like I have like 7 and I need 15 by May. So it's like it's my most stressful class by far, and I take other APs. So I just feel like we need to offer either double periods like we do for our AP lab classes, or what I did personally was I knew that I was going to need more time. So I went to guidance and I got an independent study. And I think that if we don't want to add an extra block for the schedule, then guidance needs to be more vocal about the fact that students taking that class can get an independent study for it. Because I know students that don't, and they're behind me, who is behind. So I just feel like we need to be more vocal about that, or do something in the schedule, because it's a really fun class. It's self-run. You get to choose what you want to research and what you want your pieces to be on. So I'm happy that we offer it, but it just needs more time. Thank you.
Maya, how many kids are in the class about?
8 There's, in my class, it's that there's kids that take it but aren't actually in my class because the schedule doesn't allow them to take it, so they do it on their own time. So that,
Yeah,
8-ish?
I think
Yeah.
total enrollment is around 12. I think there's around 4 students that are doing it. And, you know, Maya has been really conscientious about sharing her input with Mr. Fiore, who's had some great discussions with her and is speaking with the teacher. And so comes at a timely moment because we're working on the schedule right now and have been building it. That was part of my report. And so, you know, again, the schedule's new. With any new schedule, there's going to be a little bit of trial and error and kind of learning and you know, taking feedback and learning from that feedback. And so I think it's really appreciated, the student feedback that Maya is providing.
Maya, have they given a reason why the portfolio can't be started until mid-November?
No, they haven't, and I just asked my teacher, like, as I was writing this, I was like, why are we not allowed to open it? Why does every class get to start ahead of us? And she was like, she was like, I have no idea. I don't know why that they do that.
Not other art, that's true for all art classes in the United States, that no one can open it
Yeah.
before November. And it's not just them saying Narragansett can't do it.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the course, but other APs. And one of the hard things about being in the Northeast is that the AP exams are really gauged for, you know, parts of the country where they start school earlier. You know, they start in earlier mid-August and they're ending their school year in May when the AP exams are given. We start a month later, and so, you know, we do lose that time. It's a former AP teacher that really used to irk me, so I agree.
And when you say that, you mean College Board?
College Board, yes.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure.
So prior to mid-November, are you doing art history?
We are just doing art. She'll give us like assignments and we'll just do it, but it doesn't go towards our portfolio whatsoever. It's just working on whatever we want.
And my understanding of it, Maya, just to provide, is that, you know, your art pieces, there are certain criteria that they have to meet, right? And certain art skills that you
Yeah.
have to show within those pieces. And the first part of the class is the teacher is really reviewing those skills and making sure the students have the requisite skills to apply to their art pieces. And then they're supposed to apply it from like November to May. And so that's really the intended structure. I'm not sure it always works out perfectly, right? But that's kind of the framework of the class. And, you know, kudos to Mrs. Heidel, who really requested that we put this course in. She's really excited about it. She's a wonderful art teacher. And so, so no more pressure on you, Maya, but we're expecting, you know, kids to do really well on this.
Well, really appreciate the feedback, Maya. I know it's not an easy task to come up to the school committee table here and share that feedback with us, and it's very valuable feedback. I just want to echo that, and thank you, Pete, for also elaborating on that class as well, and we'll take the feedback that we got here, and we'll learn and make adjustments as we go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, great, thank you. So just a couple of quick things and announcements. So one, speaking of Maya, believe it or not, Maya is going to have to leave us at the end of this year, and so heading off to college. So we are beginning the process of identifying next year's school committee rep, and so those applications will be going out in school. They'll be advertising for that, and we'll do the selection process as we did last year. They'll look at the applications. They will identify students for interview. They'll go through the interview process. I think Diane is our rep to help with that interview process. And then that person will start in September, as Maya did this year. And so, two, you know, it is getting into window of time where the state testing is starting. And so the RICAS window is beginning in April, so we'll be doing our ELA testing later in April, and that's grades 3 through 8. And then math will be in May, and so that is coming up. We also have our SAT school day will be on April 11th. And as a reminder, all of our juniors take the SAT, and all of our sophomores take the PSAT. A couple of other really quick things. So 6 o'clock on Monday, we have our meeting with the town council. And so that'll be the presentation of the school district budget to the town council. And then finally, as I'm sure you noticed in the principal reports, it's been very exciting to have a series of cultural events in all of our schools. And so, many thanks to our diversity committee and to Gail Dandrian has forged a partnership with FirstWorks to bring a lot of kind of really new perspective into our schools. And so, students have really enjoyed them. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. And so that has really been a major initiative this year. And we've had a lot of success with that. But if anybody has any questions about anything, all right, great.
All right, thank you, Pete. Okay, we are on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve consent agenda items CA1B, CA1C, CA1D, CA2A, CA2B, and CA2C?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. We are on to the budget report. Karen?
Good evening. Expenditures for the 8 months ended February 29th, 2024 total $19,617,822, and that's 54.11% of our budget. And our expenditures and encumbrances total $31,828,140, and that's 87.79% of our budget.
Any questions for Karen? All right, thank you. So we are on to school committee business. Most important item of the night is our approval of the FY 2025 budget for next year. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of finance and administration to approve the fiscal year 2025 budget in the amount of $36,983,828?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? So as I mentioned before, so we heard our first draft of the budget from Dr. Cummings last month at our February school committee meeting. We have had 2 detailed budget workshops and lots of opportunity to ask Pete questions and ask the central office staff questions as well. So Pete, before we take our vote, do you have any information you want to kind of share, review?
Nope. So I think the budget workshops were highly productive. We were able to get into detail about staffing requests, about costs, about where we're making adjustments. And, I will overall say that this budget very intentionally meets the needs of the students of Narragansett. It has a focus not only on kind of high-level academics and academic rigor, but it's also supporting some of the major initiatives that have been coming from the school committee. We've seen some great progress in mathematics and in ELA. It really supports further depth in science. I think it supports the CTE classes quite well. I think it also has a lot of mental health supports for students, and that it is critical, and that was a deep discussion that we had throughout the budget workshops. Finally, it also has a focus on intervention and really helping our students and especially our younger students that are still struggling to catch up from learning loss. And, even though it's several years later, we still have many students that are, needing that extra help to stay on grade level or catch up to grade level. And so we certainly have an emphasis on that. Finally, I will say it does involve, many cuts, staffing cuts due to population loss, right? And so, we are losing students. We do recognize that in the budget. So, it does cut about 4.5 teachers throughout the district, really, in response to having fewer students in our schools. The overall budget increase is 2%. 2.01%, that is well below the inflation rate. that is, I feel, a responsible budget, and, I highly recommend, what we've put together to you.
Do any school committee members have any questions or comments at all for Pete? Diane?
I have just two brief comments, and that is, before seeing this year's proposed budget, I was expecting an increase in the bottom line in line with the higher inflation that we've been seeing throughout the year. So as you just mentioned, I was very pleased and quite frankly surprised that it was only 2%. So kudos to everybody who worked on the budget for coming in at 2% increase. And my second comment is, as a percent of the town budget, we are normally about 50%, which is usually the lowest or among the lowest in the state. This year, however, if the numbers stay the same, our percent of the town budget will only be 40%, which in my time on the school committee will be the lowest.
I would also add, just a special thank you to everyone involved in the budget process, everyone up here, sitting up here, Pete, Karen, all the school principals, even Maya, for your valuable insights that you've been sharing at every school committee meeting. It helps us to gain a better insight into the needs of teachers and students, so thank you. I thought that the whole budget process was really well organized, well thought out. Every line by line item just resonated that we're being very fiscally responsible. And I also might add to anyone watching at home that each of the budget workshops was televised and I believe is available online to review. So if anyone should have any questions about the budget, like what's in it, I highly recommend you visit those sites online and review it for yourself. Thank you.
Justin?
Yeah, just want to kind of continue with the thanking everyone. And just to point out that this is we've done this budget every year as we're required to do. And since I've been on here, I think, we've delivered and have continued to deliver great budgets that balance the community with our capital and following the recommendations of the council. So I just want to thank everyone for that, and proud of the work we did.
So I would agree with what everyone just said, each and every one of you. So I agree with you, Diane, really kind of pointing out the very, very reasonable increase based on some really tough choices that we had to make and some staff reductions and some changes and adjustments, while at the same time being really, really thoughtful about maintaining our capital assets in that long-term capital plan. I work with Justin on that, with the building committee and the capital reserve committee. That's really, really important, because when there's tough budget decisions to make, sometimes the easy out is to go by not doing the capital improvements that need to take place. And I'm grateful for the resolution that we have in place from the town council that really is kind of a guidance for us to say that it's appropriate for a school district this size, for a budget this size, to be allocating this much for capital, this much for emergencies, and apply, this much for the operating budget. So we work closely. I know Pete works very closely with the town manager to really make sure that we are in conversations, throughout the budget season. So I agree with Justin and Alex. This was a lot of work. We're grateful for everyone's participation. And I would say that if any community members did not have an opportunity to come to the last 3 meetings where we were working through our budget, this Monday at 6 o'clock would be a great opportunity, because this is where Pete's going to do a formal presentation to the town council. So this is another opportunity to really hear about the detail of the school budget. So we are voting on the budget tonight, but there's still opportunity for people to get educated, get informed, and if people see the presentation on Monday night and still have questions, I encourage them to reach out to Dr. Cummings. I know he'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very much so.
So any other further comments or questions from the school committee before we take our vote on the FY 2025 budget? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone Monday night at 6 o'clock for the presentation of the town council. So school committee business item number 2, is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the updates made to the meal debt policy?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? And I will say that we're going to do this as a first read, even though we're kind of making updates. We're going to do this as a first read tonight, and then we will bring this back next month for a second read if there's any further discussion over the next month. So Pete, you want to give a little kind of soundbite?
Sure. So the Wellness Committee has been working very closely with our food service vendor, Chartwells, to really address some of the issues that we have with student lunch debt. And so that's an ongoing issue. We have, often a small number of families that where students will run up a couple of $100s worth of lunch debt over a year, over a couple of years. And so what this policy does is just outline a procedure for notifying parents when their students have a debt, to set a limit on that debt, and to kind of outline a process for what the next steps are. I will say it's kind of formalizing what we're doing anyway, right? And so what this is doing, it's not like we haven't been taking those actions. Right now, Chartwells does notify a parent when there is a lunch debt. We do encourage people to apply for the free and reduced lunch should they have an issue. We do, kind of call from the offices of the schools and follow up. Unfortunately, sometimes families are in a place where they, can't handle that debt, in which case we get our school social worker involved. And, she has found some resources through local foundations to be able to address some of that. Sometimes it's a question of applying for aid through free and reduced lunch program. And sometimes, and it happens, people forget, right? And so, it's kind of reminding them of that. It is a really easy automated system that automatically renews, is my understanding, once people are signed up for it. And so some of what this is doing is making sure that we're following our steps and that it's really clearly outlined what those steps are.
And I appreciate it being very succinct and step-by-step and very sequential, and I think it's a good system that's in place. And, I would just encourage any families, it can definitely be overwhelming sometimes to figure out paperwork, where it is, how to fill it out. So if they have any questions at all, just call their child's school, because I know that the schools will be able to connect them with someone that would be able to help them. They could come in person, sit down and meet with someone. I know we have people that'd be willing to help any families that, if they're not sure if they should fill out the paperwork or if they have trouble doing it, lots of people to help them.
Yep, absolutely, and we do that all the time. And we do have it as kind of a part of our registration process. I know Lauren handles a lot of our registration, and that's one of the forms that families get about signing up for lunch and free and reduced lunch. And again, we really do try to encourage people to participate in that, because it really is beneficial if it's a struggle for families. And so this is going to, like I said, just formalize a lot of the pieces that we already have in place.
I do want to just add, the whole discretion of parents reaching out for help. It is totally okay. The fact that we have staff that is willing to help with you, work with you, this is a wonderful staff, and please don't hesitate to reach out for help. And I just want to again thank the Policy Committee and the Health and Wellness Committee for all the work that went into really just finalizing the work that we're already doing by putting it into words. And there was just one minor recommended change from the food service provider on, I don't know if you say it's section 2 or on page 1, bullet point 2, where it says that prepayments for meals can be made via check and made out to the food service vendor. The recommendation is just to change that to Narragansett lunch program. That was brought up during the wellness. Yep, just
We'll do
wanted
that
to
for the second
mention
read.
it.
I didn't want to change it before we.
Yeah,
went
no
through
worries. I just wanted to just share that, that's all.
Any other questions or comments from the school committee? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Are there any communications that anyone wants to mention?
Just highly recommend anyone out there to read the incredible school reports from each of our principals. There's a lot of incredible things happening in the Narragansett schools, and these reports from each of the principals is just a really great lens into what's going on. So just highly recommend everyone take a look at it when they get a second.
All right, and so we are back here this Monday night at 6 o'clock. Dr. Cummings is going to present the school budget to the town council for their consideration. And then our April business meeting will be after April vacation on Wednesday, April 24th at 7 o'clock. Is there a motion to adjourn at 7:31?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good evening, everyone.